Well, welcome back. I'm here with Watie White. Watie White is our cover story for the April-May issue of Metro Magazine. Watie, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on the show.
It's great to be here.
So we sat down, I was trying to think August, November, or not, I mean October, November. I think it was somewhere. It was
something like that, yeah.
In the fall, and just, you know, having a conversation with you earlier before you came on the show the last time, and just kind of getting to know you and what you're doing in the community. I was just actually inspired and really wanted to get to know you better. So fast forward maybe 6 months later, it's like, we need to do a story on this guy. And I love it because last time when you were on the show, we were talking about the whole pirate adventure.
The greatest pirate who ever lived, yes. And then, that was very fun.
It was fun. And you started to talk to me about this project that you had just started with the Poseidon adventure.
The Odyssey by Homer. Yes.
So
we're working with a bunch of 4th and 5th grade kids to figure out how to retell this 3,000-year-old story.
And that project is complete.
That one is complete, yes.
But let's talk about that one.
Sure, let's. That was really super fun. So let me back it up. So I work with a lot of schools, and a lot of times when I do it, I know that there are certain things that are going to happen. Like I know that whatever we make is probably going to wind up being a painting of some sort. There's going to be figurative things in it. There's going to be some sort of story in it. So I try to show up with some kind of story and figure out how to tell it using the people and the location where I am.
Right.
So in this case, I was working with a group of 4th and 5th graders and a few of their teachers out at Holling Heights Elementary School out in Millard, and working with the Odyssey. And it's one of my favorite stories. It's a thing I've loved all my life. And these little kids had never heard it before. They had never heard of it before.
Right.
And so I got to help tell the story to them, retell it, go into more details with it, give them graphic novels that help tell it, watch videos with it, and then figure out how they would retell the story, what parts they remember, what parts they like, what would they avoid, and then trying to take what they gave me and make a 25-foot mural out of it.
Right.
So that was what we did.
I love it. And the kids just must have loved that. I mean, and there must have been some like pride and some really something at the very end that they took part in this creation.
Yeah. And one of the things that was really fantastic, so I worked with the kids for several weeks, just getting them to draw out the characters, getting them to imagine what these different people look like, how they react to the monsters that they see, how they try to get back home, how they try to get to meet their son for the first time. And then getting to figure out how they see it, when they draw it out, how do they look? And then I take all of that and then make something that all of it fits in seamlessly to. Now, I did all that part at my studio. I worked with these kids every day for a few weeks, and then I take all this research back to my studio and make the thing. And then when I made the mural and installed it, it was Christmas break. And so the kids all came back from the holidays and got to walk into their school where there's this 25-foot mural with all of them in it. Everybody's very recognizable. They can all see the parts that they influenced, that they designed. But none of them were kind of expecting it. So they got to be very shocked and surprised at it. The kids who didn't know anything about what was coming had no real idea what it was or what to make of it. It was great.
What an experience for kids. I mean, and also I'm sure for you as well, that's just like the perfect storm, so to speak, is when you're working with kids and you unveil it and they're a part of it, you're a part of it. So I just love that. So let's talk a little bit. So here you are on the cover. This is your studio, correct?
This is my studio, yeah.
Okay. So what's that piece behind you?
So the piece behind me is actually, it's a painting, a portrait of a family in town, Othello and Talani Meadows and their kids. And it's one of a series of paintings I've been doing for a little over a decade, where I do portraits of people who are not, they're not professional models. They can't really model very well, but what they do bring is a wealth of stories, a wealth of experiences that I can then sort of take and make references to that I can involve in the composition of the painting itself.
Right.
So what I would do is get them to tell me about a painting that they love, a thing that actually means something to them.
Right.
And then I steal everything I can out of it.
Right.
And so I use the shape of the stories that are already in the thing they love to retell those stories of theirs.
Yeah.
So in this case, I'm recasting all these stories that they have about their family, about growing up, about living in Omaha. Talani is a transplant here. Othello is sort of a basketball star from here. And then getting to play that out, but also getting to allow their kids to play a real role in the stories that they tell. So their two sons are the ones that you can actually see on the cover.
Very cool, very cool. And I know part of what was in this side of the magazine as well was your project, the 100
people.
Yeah.
Which is an ongoing thing, actually. Just today had more people coming into model.
Okay.
So for that, I make these woodcut portraits of artists and advocates throughout Omaha.
Okay.
With the intention of making 100 of them. I have them come in, they collaborate with me, they have an idea of how they want to be seen, and then my role is to help figure out how to make that happen. Then I draw it out, I carve them, I print them, and then I digitally print the woodcut itself as an 8-foot tall mural of them. And then I install those around the city, and those will last probably 30 to 40 years before they start to fade. And so far, I have done portraits of 50 people and installed about 30, with another dozen or so happening in Little Bohemia at the end of the month.
Yeah. Speaking of Little Bohemia,
which is the neighborhood where my studio is.
Where your studio is.
Yeah, I love that area.
And yeah, I love it too. I mean, I'm a West Omaha, so but I love it. So let's talk a little bit back. We're going to get back to your artwork, but tiny house.
Tiny house.
What the heck's that? I'm seeing that all over Facebook. So what is it?
It's great. So working with a group of us, myself, John Tverdick, Ryan Ellis, Colleen Mason, and our manager Megan Malone started this. We built a bar in a small 100-year-old house around the corner from my studio. In a tiny house. And when you adapt a social space into a small building that was made for something else, it has all the quirks and character of that building, you can't help but adjust what you make to it and the kind of people who want to come and be in that environment with you. So it's very art-rich. There's a lot of art in it. But not only traditional artwork, a piece of mine is in it, a piece of J.F. Yoshimoto's is in it. But also there's a care and a attention being paid to detail stuff throughout the whole place. And I think that's what people wind up liking about it so far, is that there's a lot of booths, and every booth has a very different sort of character, a different sort of feel. Nothing's overly designed, but everything feels like you're in your own environment when you're there. Right.
So is it is it food? Is it drink? I mean, what is it?
It's drinks. We have bar snacks. Things like they have a thing called man candy, which is like the most delicious bacon ever.
Really?
That we just like serve as a bar snack. Like big long strips of bacon that are roasted with like a honey as well as some sort of like pepper in it. So it's a little bit spicy.
All right.
It's really
Come
super
on down
delicious.
and have some man candy.
Have some man candy
and a cocktail.
A cocktail, as you do.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what's your next project, or what are you thinking about next? And how far out do you think?
Pretty far.
Yeah.
So I have, with work like I do, you work in many directions all at once, right? So I have multiple projects in terms of public art projects lined up. I have some murals that I'm working on right now for a place in Minneapolis. I have some one that's going to be going up at Midtown Crossing at the new Alamo movie theater there. I have a couple of schools that I'll be working with out in Millard, Nyhart Elementary, as well as Bryan. And I also have two large shows that I'm working on locally. That'll be next year, but we're already starting to
Sure.
to plan them out and figure out exactly
Sure.
what they're going to be. I'm a
Right.
little nervous because if you give me too long to plan, they get ambitious, they
Right.
get elaborate. So I'll be doing.
Right.
I have a large show at Kaneko next year.
Okay.
And also one at UNO. That'll be in multiple of the buildings as well as several departments, which should be
Yeah.
very fun to work on as well.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and this is totally off topic.
Good.
And I hope it's not going to be weird or anything, but I don't know.
I cannot wait.
I'm
kind of hoping it is weird.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? As a business,
Yeah.
what is your business? Because
yeah.
you're not just out here doing this, just.
Well, it's not all out of none of it really feels like it is out of the kindness of my heart. All of it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
sort of,
passion in that drive,
driven.
and that drives
Yeah.
both of us to do what we do. But I'm just curious.
But also everything has to be kind of sustainable, or else
Yeah.
it doesn't really function in the way that it should. And I've been lucky. There's been a couple of strange things in my career. One is that I'm very productive. I make a lot of things.
Right.
And because I trust that I can make a lot of things, I give myself leeway to explore most anything that interests me a lot.
I love
so
that.
Because I'm confident that I don't have to necessarily decide between making a piece that I think is the best thing I can make right now,
Right.
and making a piece that someone is already commissioning, and
Right.
the funding is already known. Any work that you make in the studio, you're kind of making because it's the best thing you can think of now, and you trust that eventually it will find a home. That eventually, if you see your best ideas all the way through,
Yeah.
that they will find people who share the same ethics that they do.
Right.
So I allow myself to creatively to work on murals, work on public art things that not only are longer term projects where you do have to figure out the funding and sustainability
Right.
and elaborate partnerships where everybody is seeing some greater return on their investment of time or capital or resources
Sure.
or whatever, as well as all the work that you can produce through your own ideas and in sort of the quietude of your own space and studio.
Yeah.
As well as things where I'm working with organizations to do. So I work with some places and do a lot of mentoring of one sort or another, and that also I think is driven to sustain this kind of practice because I need other artists around me. I need them to be more successful.
Right.
I need them to be making great, challenging work. I need them to be in every way, my equal or better than me.
Right.
And so the only way I know how to really foster that is by encouraging other people's voices, finding other people opportunities to
Right.
make more work, trying to get people to make as much as they can, starting as early as possible.
Yeah.
And so, because I think that also builds the kind of environment not only that I want to live in and I want to work in, but that
Right.
I think also makes it more sustainable for all of us to kind of be in at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to wrap up, but again, you're like the entrepreneurial artist. I mean, there's that entrepreneurial spirit that you have, and you take that into your work, and then but it's all about how do you create a thriving business, or a thriving, sustainable thing, so that you're continuing to do what you're doing. Other people are coming into the mix, and we're all thriving as a community
I think that's
the
true.
best that we can.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that sustainability isn't just economic, but
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
ethical, it's
Yeah.
creative, it's all the things that enable you to keep going and
Yeah.
keep making more. Because
Yeah.
I do believe that the best work is going to come in
Yeah.
in my 60s or 70s, where
Yeah, I love it.
I'm finally smart enough to do the big things.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. What a joy to get to chat with you again. I'm going to come down to Tiny House sometime, have some man
candy.
candy and a cocktail.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Thank you for this. This is really fantastic.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And we will be right back.